Today's video, we'll look at a scenario in which East Asia unites, which Mongolia, China, Hong Kong, Macau, if you consider them nations yet. And we got North Korea, South Korea, and Japan. And well, the first thing they do is decide they don't need to be reliant on Russia's gas and oil anymore. So they decide to change and just get rid of them. Maybe that is their plan. Who knew? Probably a smart plan. They decide they'll be self-reliant. But, yeah. First, they must conquer the resources, I guess. Oh, wait, if they moved at that rate, no way they could be resisted. With them pushing their forces in across the border, as they create a stalemate on most of the front, as they focus on breaking through the weaker spots, which they break through too near this area, with the Japan part landing here and East Asian forces land over there as they take Vladivostok.
Okay, I found this on the web. For when did Japan pirate landing here and East Asian forces
and
land over there?
They move over here and they continue. Well, yeah. They conquer. Because who doesn't like conquering? And well, a big chunk of Russia fell. So they decide to land here. Oh, and while they're doing nothing, they decide to annex the Kuril Islands, whatever you call these. With Russia in trouble as they're being pushed back in a new front. Well, luckily, they only lose that. So they decide to launch a counteroffensive over here. And then they start launching an offensive north. Also launch an offensive north over here. Quickly using these two offensives to take a bunch of land. Well, then they move up here with an offensive. Well, Russia's left too, just its resources, which they had to hold on to. With them aiming to cut off some more supply lines. This leads to two massive encirclements that eventually fall. The Russians offer peace, but it's not accepted. As they move to the Ural Mountains, cut off supplies to this area. Well, this area eventually falls. After a while of offensive after offensive, the full nation decides to surrender down to them. And with their first operation being a success, now it's to go to the peace treaty. It's in territory. 3/4 probably about. As a new operation begins. And for some reason this area here decides to declare independence from the rest of Malaysia. I don't know. Yeah, I can't even figure that one out. And well, now to invade. In some fronts, in this front over here, they face quite a bit of resistance as they advance to here. But over here, they launch an offensive here to cut some lands off. And then they move in less opposed. And then they move some small amounts of forces to do that, launch an operation there, as they launch their forces right to the coast. As the offensive continues, they move this way. But in this front, it's really slow. Myanmar surrenders, but before they can fully occupy all the areas that surrendered, Thailand occupies a big chunk and launches a small offensive with Vietnam and Laos. But the offensive on Thailand starts as Thailand fiercely resists too. But in Laos, the front starts to crack. Same with Vietnam and Thailand, which leads to a bunch of people revolting against it, wherever it was strategical. Yeah, you kind of end up with very bad supply lines. But they launch an offensive, pushing them back. The rebels in the rebellion, but during this time, they take the time to capture more coastline. But from the north in that offensive, they start crumbling down as they destroy the morale. And seeing that, forces quickly move to Bangkok and they capture it as they start moving into Cambodia. At this point, Laos and Cambodia surrenders. Vietnam collapses. Well, they quickly occupy these lands and then they move down and capture the rest. So let's see the peace treaty. Obvious. They want to go after Southeast India, but they decide first to go after every stand nation. I don't know. No, not like that. Like this. Yeah, they invade them all. You might ask, how's this go? Well, they got really good at offensives. Now they're good at conquest, with them capturing more land than they should in all areas due to their tactics. They managed to make a big encirclement. Their strategy and numerical supremacy really destroys these nations pretty fast. Faster than it should, much faster. With the India subcontinent now surrounded on 4 sides. Let's see what happens in subcontinent, and they all unite, realizing that it's now or never. And we're going to pretend that there's no blue over there, because there's not. Yeah. Now to fix the borders. There's going to be a Kuwait thing like this. I think that's what Kuwait is. And then Arabia's borders. Doesn't it go like this? No, I'm actually hitting there. Oh, great. Yeah, there's not much I can do at this point. I think I just ruined the borders forever. Luckily, that border will be fixed. We all know how they actually look. Well, yeah. I know it looks. I just can't draw good borders, apparently. With them getting pushed back in multiple fronts as their advances become really good. With them struggling with their offensive. And well, they cut across here. With India struggling, even though they should be resisting well. And at the rate of their offensives, they're never going to move through here. They land over here, and with no one expecting they would do something like this, well, they managed to take a big chunk of land. With them managing to capture the coastline. As they move in from the north. This side. And well, they move in over here with spearheads launched. Well, they take it over, and with the final conquest have been a success. I got a way of fixing them. I figured out how to fix the borders over here. We'll just give them all to Turkey. We'll just give all of this to Turkey. Nothing bad can happen. We'll give all of this to the UAE, including Qatar. We'll do this. Last border. Nah, I'm kidding. We're not actually changing any more borders. But look at the East Asian Union. And well, they force a nation in. The Philippines joins. Well, that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mamper out, but until you subscribe. Bye, guys!